Good morning. Welcome, fellow Earthlings, all ages and stages, all shapes and colors, all personalities, all gender identities and sexual orientations, all beliefs and none. One species we are, among the many, part of one Earth community. Welcome to this spiritual gathering, whether you are joining us in this circle for the very first time or whether you've been in this circle more times than you can count, or whether you're joining us online. Together we come to sing and pray and reflect and be still with one another and learn our way into living in this place as one creature among the many. We come with each other to remember that we are born of fire. And we come to ignite a passion in one another, a passion for life. And we come to remember that we're water, born of water, in bodies that are mostly water, making our home on this place, which is mostly water. And we come to remember that we're air. A single breath is all that separates us from being and non-being. That single breath that gives us life again in another moment. And we come to remember that we are soil, here to build ground for one another. We come to remember that we're part of all that is, grateful for the bodies we inhabit and for the gift of time and place. We gather in gratitude on this land, its water and soil and air that has nurtured life for the human and more than human. And we acknowledge particularly those peoples who are long in this land, the Cree and Métis who've called this place home for generations. The many First Peoples who've traveled this land receiving its gifts and learning its wisdom. And we come to this land, those of us who have called it home for just a few generations, we come to commit ourselves to learning from our brothers and sisters whose story and experience is longer and deeper in this place. May we together find ways to build truth and trust with one another, that this land that we all call home may be healthy and safe. In gratitude, we sing.
We like to take a moment to say thank you for all the ways that you support the life and the work of this community, not only in the ways that you attend events or are present here this morning, although that's something that makes us who we are. We thank you for all the ways that you support us with your time and your energy, your finances, your donations, and all the ways that you contribute. If you'd like to contribute today, there are a couple of ways you can do that. In an envelope in the boxes at the back, or you can donate anytime online. You can sign up at the welcome table to have your donations automatically come from your bank account. Or, well, Safeway cards, Superstore cards, Save-On cards, all that. Thank you, David. He wouldn't let me forget about that. You can buy your grocery cards through us, and by doing so, you support the church as a small amount comes back to us. We're going to come back to the moment of stewardship because perhaps there will be an opportunity to do that later. But in that spirit of gratitude, let's sing that song one more time. It's our time for all ages. I'd like to invite anyone, children, kids at heart, anyone who'd like to come to the carpet is welcome to come for our time for all ages. Good morning. Today, I would like to show you something I brought. You can see what it is. It's a tiny little tree. It does look like a Christmas tree, you're right. Did I put that picture up here? No. Yep, there it is. We're going to talk about trees today. This is a little tree that got really excited about Christmas and wanted ornaments on and lots of fun things on, and decided also that this tree would love to have sparkles and glitter. Do you see the glitter on the tree? So, but the tree didn't know that glitter's really hard to get rid of once you glitter yourself. Do you know this? If you get glitter on you, it takes a long time to get off. Well, this tree learned that lesson at Christmas. It's always glittery now.
It's not Christmas.
It's not Christmas, but it's still glittery. I brought this tree because I wanted to talk to you about how important trees are to our lives. Trees are very pretty to look at. Not even with glitter. Even without glitter, they're pretty to look at. And there are lots of trees that do so many wonderful things for us. Whenever a tree is green and has green leaves, it's doing something really, really, really important for us humans. Do you know what it is? What does a tree do? It gives us oxygen. We breathe oxygen. It's one of the things that makes us live. And we exhale carbon dioxide, but a tree and all kinds of green plants do the opposite. They breathe carbon dioxide, and they let out oxygen. And that's a beautiful relationship we've got with the green plants and the trees. And so it's lovely to celebrate them. And to...
No decoration.
well, they're not always decorated, but that's okay.
But we decorated our tree with all the rainbow.
That's very true.
With all night.
That's true. Let's look at a different picture. This picture, look, some people got really excited about celebrating trees, and they were good knitters, and they took a bunch of yarn and they knit, and they decorated the tree with a bunch of yarn. Some people call that yarn bombing. They yarn bomb the trees, and that's pretty. It's really nice. It's one way to look after the trees. Do you know another way to look after trees? What's a way we can look after the trees? Do you have it? We could water.
I can water the plant with my value, and then I don't know where my is.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, you'll water the tree, I'm sure of it. What's another idea?
Sun.
Sun. The trees need sun. So we can make sure the trees that need sun get lots of sun.
Soil.
Soil, they need good soil. What's another one, Callum?
Don't rip off the leaves and stuff.
Oh, that's a good one. So it's tempting to rip off all the leaves, especially on a little baby tree. But no, we don't want to do that. The trees need their leaves. Any other ideas, Asha? Dirt, yes, they do need dirt and soil. I want to show you this picture. Here's someone who is digging around a tree. They're looking after it by knowing kind of what things will help the tree be healthy. So they know that if they dig around it, and if they give it lots of air and space, and they don't let grass and other things kind of grow really close to the tree, they can make it as healthy as it can be. And then I want to show you one more picture because this is really cool. Use your imaginations because this is a piece of art. Do you see the statues that an artist put around the tree? What is it?
Like those fingers up there.
They're fingers, yes, the fingers and thumbs. Well, one thumb. And they put those statues there, and it makes it look like the hand is kind of holding the tree. It's beautiful. I love that. And it reminds us, the artist called this piece of art the caring hand. And it reminds us that we can treat every tree like it's a work of art, like we're being very careful with it. It's really lovely. So today marks a special day for us in Kids Spirit and Youth Cafe because we get to start a really exciting time in May called Earth Explorers. And Earth Explorers is a time of going outside, of learning and sharing time with trees and other things in nature, and just celebrating all the things that we can about the beautiful earth. So just when we are going to go outside, you're invited to go outside. If you're in Kids Spirit and Youth Cafe, you're invited to go with the leaders outside today, and they or your parents can help you get your coats on and do all that kind of stuff. I want to introduce you to two people that are going to help us today with Earth Explorers outside, and that is Joy and Andrea. And I think you know Nancy. So it'll be an exciting time to explore the earth and to celebrate it. So you're welcome now, while we sing this song, to make your way to the foyer and to get things ready for your first outdoor Earth Explorers time. This is a reading from the Christian tradition. It comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, starting at verse 25. If you live the spiritual life, it follows that you don't need to fuss about what's on the table at mealtimes, or whether the clothes in your closet are all that fashionable. There's far more to your life than the food you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes that hang on your body. Look, as an example, at the birds. Free and unfettered, not tied down to a job description. They don't gather their stores into barns, and yet they eat just fine. Are you not as wise as they? Has anyone, by fussing in front of the mirror, ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? All this time and money wasted on fashion, do you think that it makes that much difference? Instead of looking at the fashions, walk out into the fields and look at the wildflowers. They never primp or shop, but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? But if they who are alive today and gone tomorrow are clothed so well, what about you? Give your entire attention to the dream of justice and peace. And don't get worked up about what may or what may not happen tomorrow. You will be able to deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. These are words from the Christian tradition of the first century. May we find wisdom for our living. May we find SSUC is an Earth Charter community. It signed on to be so in the busy days of becoming an affirming congregation, of building this building. It was a time of thought almost 20 years ago, thought and commitment around how we want to live our spiritual lives as a spiritual community. This month, we're exploring the principles of the Earth Charter and what meaning they might bring to us today, almost 20 years from signing on as signatories to this charter. If you haven't read the charter, we can find it at earthcharter.org. That's the easiest way. We'll also have some copies over the next couple of weeks for you to look at. But we're going to go through the principles one week at a time. And for the first little bit, I want to talk about the Earth Charter in general, just about what it is. From its own description, it says this: the Earth Charter is an ethical framework for building a just, sustainable, and peaceful global society in the 21st century. It seeks to inspire in all people a new sense of global interdependence and shared responsibility for the well-being of the whole human family, the greater community of life, and future generations. It's a vision of hope and a call to action. So as you might expect, the Earth Charter is centrally concerned with the transition that we can make toward sustainable ways of living and sustainable human development. But that's where the title is somewhat misleading, Earth Charter. Because although ecological integrity and sustainability is key and important to the Earth Charter, it is only one of many facets. The Charter recognizes that there are a number of things, all tied together, that can't be seen in isolation. That we can't tackle ecological integrity if we don't think about a whole lot of other things all connected to it. Again, from the Charter's own description, the goals of ecological protection, the eradication of poverty, equitable economic development, respect for human rights, democracy, and peace are interdependent and indivisible. It provides, therefore, a new inclusive, integrated ethical framework to guide the transition to a sustainable future. It's saying it's hard to be an Earth Charter person, an eco person, without thinking about all of these things together. Now, if you place that alongside the values that we hold as a community, and these are just some of them, the values that we have like love, justice, compassion, respect, integrity, creativity, gratitude, inclusivity, responsibility. That's just naming a few of those values that we hold to as a community. You can see why we as a community might be interested in aligning with such a global movement. At a time when major changes in how we think and live are urgently needed, the Earth Charter challenges us to look at our values with a new lens, to be about choosing even better ways than we have. So then the first principle of the Earth Charter that we want to focus on this week: respect and care for the community of life. Oh, this tree just won't stand up. My poor tree. We started last week with wonder and amazement as we started talking about the Earth and celebrating Earth Day. And we pick right up, stop it. Is patience one of the Earth Charter principles? Okay, good. I'll work on that. So we're going to pick right up where we left off last week. If you weren't here last week, don't worry. But if you were, we're going to pick right up where we left off. To respect and care for Earth and life in all its diversity, and to secure our planet's bounty and beauty for present and future generations is no small task. It's before us in the news. It's in political debate. It's in our city policies. It's in our household practices. It's in decisions we make about purchases and behavior. And you've been looking at this slide now, accidentally, for a little bit, and you can see that my point is it can stress us out. That conversation is filled with anxiety. Respect, care, preserving our planet for the future means talking about climate change, about the actions we've taken as a species that have made that work even harder than it would have been in the first place. It's possible, no, probable, that most of us will at some point have near paralyzing anxiety about any of these issues facing our planet, be it melting glaciers or rising sea levels or extinction of species or the looming specter of ecological refugees. There is a lot to worry about. So, in that, having said that, we have to take a step back and start with a bit of good news. Because if we start with the bad news, we'll be here all day and we'll all be crying. So, we start with a bit of good news. The earth is beautiful. It is worth every word and effort we put into it, because it's our only home. That sounds ridiculous to say, because we know that, but we need reminding. If it's my only home, why would I make a mess of it? And so we back up to find some wisdom for us as to how to tackle those big questions. Where do we start? We're going to go back to some wisdom from the Jesus tradition to talk about and to talk to us about our anxiety. Awe is important. Last week I talked about O, which is kind of an awe, but we left last week with a challenge to have at least one experience every day that had us standing in awe of something in the natural world. And I wonder if we found that easy to do, that it would be hard to limit ourselves to having just one experience a day of awe in the natural world, or if we found it a challenge to remember to connect with the earth and with nature, that it was a challenge that we're still working on. Just as a way to see, how many would find it easy to have one moment of awe with the natural world in a day? And how many people would find it difficult? I think there are those of us in both of those camps. I think it's really difficult. I sometimes need reminding to get off my bum at my desk and go look out the window, go outside. That's the kind of world we live in. So this was my moment this week. I know, groan, right? But I found that beautiful. And I realized as I was thinking about this that it's not always the things that we think are going to be awe-inspiring. Sometimes it's these totally tiny, ordinary things. This wisdom we read today talks to us about our obsessions. And it seems nothing has changed in about 2,000 years. Our obsessions with what we wear, with what we'll eat, with how we look, and how much stuff we have. In other words, we tend to live with fear at the center of what we do. And that's a little bit about what this wisdom is getting at. We act today out of fear of not enough tomorrow. We act tomorrow out of fear of what to do if disaster strikes the day after that. We act and choose our clothes, our hair, our makeup, our cars, our homes, our whatever, not based simply on what we need, but on how we compare to others. What I might look like to another if I step out of the house in what I'm currently wearing. I won't go into details. What someone might think of us. This consumer lifestyle we've chosen is one that's based on anxiety, on comparison, and on fear. And those who sell us things know this. The wisdom teacher, Jesus, reminds us to look at the flowers and to look at the birds. A blooming bud looks gorgeous and it doesn't spend 1 minute in front of a mirror. The birds don't have barns or bank accounts. And they seem to find enough to eat just fine. The advice, give your entire attention to the dream of justice and peace, and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. You will be able to deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Abraham Joshua Heschel, Rabbi Heschel, noted Jewish philosopher of religion, loved trees, popularized the term radical amazement. Heschel intuited that real wisdom always births out of wonder and never out of doubt and fear. Wisdom births out of wonder, never doubt or fear. Jesus' words here in this wisdom about the flowers and the birds, they hold these two things in tension with each other. They hold anxiety and awe together. And they say, life isn't about one or the other. You can't do that. But how do you have awe and anxiety at the same time? And have them both help deal with each other. Awe, wonder, radical amazement, those are spiritual resources for us at a time when there's so much to do in terms of the monumental tasks of caring for the community of life. If we're going to make progress as a species around reducing the effects of climate change or moving toward more ecological and economically sustainable living, we can't do it starting from a place of fear. There's the spiritual wisdom in this piece, that we're wise to learn from that wisdom of the ages, that fear will never move the needle. Which is why it's important to be aware of facts, to teach our children the facts around climate change and about the effects of our human living on the planet. But if we ever move towards scaring them or scaring ourselves and giving ourselves anxiety about how to live on this planet, we will not make much change if we're acting from a place of fear. There's another piece of wisdom that is actually one of my favorites from the Christian writings. It comes from the first letter of John, and it goes like this. There is no room in love for fear. Well-formed love banishes fear. Since fear is crippling, a fearful life, fear of death, fear of judgment, is one not yet fully formed in love. What this says to me is that the opposite of fear isn't safety. The opposite of fear isn't comfort. The opposite of fear may not even be courage. It's love. If we're going to start from anywhere in our task as caretakers of the Earth Charter community, it's going to be from a place of love, a place of awe, radical amazement, a place of radical love for the community of life. We don't make changes in any social justice issue if we're scared of the people we're talking with. If we're scared of the people across the table, or if we're scared of what they might do, what they might say, or who they are. Do you remember this story? I've told it once before. It's a story about dandelions, and I'm going to tell it again because I like it. Some homeowners took great pride in their lawn and found themselves with a large crop of dandelions. Do you relate to that? They tried every method they knew to get rid of them, and still those things plagued their lawn. And finally, they went to the experts at the greenhouse, and they listed all the things they'd done, all the things they'd tried, and then they asked, "What should we do now?" And the expert replied, "We suggest you learn to love them." This is Rabbi Heschel again. Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life accidentally. To be spiritual is to be amazed. Earth Charter Principle 1, respect and care for the community of life. Stop it. I think it just likes it when I breathe on it. Maybe that's why. Caring for the community of life has to start with love and amazement. How else can we build respect for diversity, work together for sustainable solutions for the future if we don't start there? The environmentalists, the pundits, a large portion of politicians and media want to scare us into action for the earth. But I fear that that might not work. We act because we care, not because we're afraid. This is true of humanity. This is true of everyone who's ever created a vision statement. We act because we believe in the vision. We act because we care about something important to us. Not because we're scared. Fear will never move us to action, but love certainly will. We act because we care, not because we're afraid. Marginalization, racism, and war have fear of the other at their root. Awe and wonder at the rich human diversity and the human spirit can be the seeds of the ethics and activism we need to make a difference. So what a blessing that the Earth Charter starts with its first principle with the words respect and care. We can't do it with fear at our center. We certainly can do it acting from a place of love and amazement. We'll be inspired to live in different ways if we do that. In our efforts to live the principles of the Earth Charter and the values we hold as part of living together as community, may we in every day breathe amazement. May we let that inspire our every word we speak and decision we make. Not because we're scared of what we might do to damage something, but because we're in awe and amazement of the great blessing of this home. To inspire us on the way, a poem by Aldem Solovi. It's called The Rhythm of Wonder. When the mountains sing, when the seas dance, when a crescent moon glides the heavens, and the sun lifts day from night, when the rivers waltz to hymns of rain, and the oceans drum on cliffs of stone, when the caper bush wakes and the wild iris blooms, remember this: it's not the wind that lifts the eagle. The eagle lifts the wind. You are the love that frees the baritone hills and the pirouette skies, a shaft of light to loose the crescendos of glory and the colors of awe, a heartbeat summoning the rhythm of wonder, a yearning to hear the pulse of the planet. When silence resounds with music, when darkness radiates light, when creation reaches up from the core of the earth and eternity is a breeze from the edge of the universe, when the call to holiness shines brilliant in the breathless dawn, remember this: it's not the prayer that lifts the blessing lifts the prayer. This is poetry of a contemporary Jewish poet. May we find wisdom for our living. We come to this table to do something that has been done for centuries, and that is gather with food, to make of it a ritual, to strengthen our intentions to be community with each other. It was done in so many religious traditions. In our heritage, it was done this way in the Jewish and the Christian traditions, with Jesus taking a Jewish tradition and making it something new for his community of friends. As does every community make this table and this ritual their own. And so today we take this ancient time of sharing bread and juice, and we make it what it is for us. So today we come to this table to participate in the healing of our planet, to acknowledge our utter dependence on the gifts of the earth, gifts as simple and complex as bread and juice, gifts nurtured by air and soil, sun and rain. We come to this table today to ground our gratitude. In the simple and gracious acts of eating and drinking, we know that we're with friends. We know that we make ourselves a community. In the radical acts of interdependence, grateful for every moment, our lives, our loves, our land. And we also come to this table today to participate in the healing of Earth's whole community, to recognize the oneness of every person and creature on this planet, to celebrate the gifts of many languages, many colors, many cultures, many faiths, to acknowledge that the wounds of one are the wounds of all, and the wounds of the earth are the wounds of every inhabitant. And we come to this table as those have done for generations, gathering with friends in peace and hope with a vision for something better, something different in the future. To eat and drink with gratitude, to strengthen intention, to participate in healing hatred and hostility, to celebrate love in communion and community. We do that with a little piece of bread. We do that with a little bit of grape juice. We are all welcome. Valuable and beautiful, just as we are, we're welcome to this ritual. This is a community and a table of radical welcome. You're welcome because these are the gifts of a good earth for all people. You're welcome regardless of whether you're a member of this church or any church. You're welcome not because of what you do or don't believe, but because you belong. You are welcome because together we commit to a better tomorrow. You're welcome to share this bread of connection and this cup of community. We'll share these prayers for the earth. Would you respond to each phrase with the words before you? We join with the earth and with each other. To bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air, we join with the earth and with each other. To renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures, we join with the earth and each other. To celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars, we join with the earth and with each other. To recall our destiny, to renew our spirits, to reinvigorate our bodies, we join with the earth and with each other. To use resources wisely, to balance life systems, to honor the land and her people, we join with the earth and with each other. To build compassionate human community, to heal each other and ourselves, to promote justice and peace, we join with the earth and with each other. To remember our ancestors, to plan for our children, we join with the earth and with each other.